Hey everybody, happy Saturday. I hope you're doing well. Want to come at you with just a short devotion today to wrap up the week. Won't take much of your time, but just want to share a little bit of something that kind of stuck out to me from Jody's message on Sunday, and it was called Lighten Up, and out of Hebrews chapter 12 verses 1 and 2, and talking about how we have to lay aside the things that weigh us down. And obviously we all face things in our lives that are tough, and we go through hard times where we feel burdened and we feel weighed down. A lot of time that is sin that we carry in our lives, or unforgiveness. And Jody mentioned 5 things on Sunday, and the guys have touched on those. But the one I want to talk about today is a couple, actually. Self being one and sin being the other. And so just want to touch on that. When Jody talked about self being something that can weigh us down, he talked about us wanting our own way, right? And wanting to do things our way and not God's way. And then it all being about our direction and the direction we think we want to go selfishly, the direction that we'd like to go, not the way that God may be calling us to go. And we become consumed with all kinds of different things other than what we should be, and what we should be consumed with is Jesus. And so sometimes we let ourselves get in the way, we let other things get in the way, and that begins to weigh us down. And so why does that happen? Well, because we're human, right? We're not perfect. Those things are going to happen if we allow them to happen. And when we think about that, it only takes just the smallest amount of sin or distraction to come into your lives, and then all of a sudden we're very easily off track from where we should be, right? And so it happens to us. And so how do we take our mind and focus off of ourself, and also take our mind off of that sin that so easily got us off track? How do we get our mind off of those things and get them on to the right thing, right? So I want to look at the scripture that he shared on Sunday. And I'll just read both verses. The guys have shared it this week, but I'll share it too. But Hebrews 12, 1 and 2, "Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us." There it says easily beset, or it easily gets us distracted or off track or threatened, right? It doesn't take much to get us off track. "And let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God." And so if we look at verse 2 there, it tells us how do we get our mind off of that sin and back on track. And it says, looking unto Jesus, right? We've spent our time looking at things that are distracting us, and that's why we're off track. We need to change our focus and look to Jesus at what he's done. And it tells us what he's done there, right? And that sin so easily consumes us. It demands our attention, right? And before we know it, that's all we're focusing on. And then the more that we give those things our attention, the more it's demanded of us, right? And so we just get farther and farther away from Jesus. And so to transition from that place of selfishness back to where we need to be, in line with our calling, in line with what God would have us to do, we have to pry our eyes off of ourselves, right? And that's hard. Sometimes you want to continue to be in that place of sin or self. You have to pry your eyes away from that. It's not easy, right? It's not an easy thing to do. And it's a weight that is very heavy on us, but it's a weight, as Jody said, we have to lighten up. We've got to know how we can get that weight off of us. And so why the first thing we need to do is, it says, look to Jesus, right? Stop looking at those things, look to Jesus. But why do we look to Jesus? Let's think about that for a second. The second part of that verse, it said, for the joy that was set before him to do these things, to endure the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. He loves us so much, and is the only one who can help us transition from a place of self to a place of hope and forgiveness and love. But we've got to look to Jesus first and look away from the other things. So if I could just say one thing, look to him today. If you feel like you've been stuck and your eyes are stuck on the wrong thing, look to Jesus. That's the first step. So hope you guys get a little something out of that. Hope you have a great rest of the day, and hope you'll join us at church at Mount Olive tomorrow at 11, and we'll see you soon.